education until at independence in 1961, when the first secondary school was built in Moroto High School. So Karamoja is starting on a road that the rest of the country has run for 100 years. Most of you come from constituents, even here in Asholi, that there are schools celebrating 100 years. We are just beginning education in Karamoja. Recently, a number up to today, a number of parishes, Mr. Speaker, do not have primary schools. When the First Lady came to Karamoja, about 13 primary boarding schools were built in 2013, 2016. And because of that boarding school program, that the First Lady and school feeding program, suddenly, the enrollment rate started rising. I mentioned in my motion that even the transition rate from primary to secondary, especially for the boy child, jumped very high by 7%. Unfortunately for the girl child, the statistics we have from Uganda Bureau of Statistics today show that for the girl child, it only jumped by 1.3%. So for every 100 children in Karamoja, today, for the girls, for every 100 girls that go to P1, only 12 finish primary 7 and go to secondary. And for the boys, 25 of them finish primary and go to secondary school. Where do the rest go? Mr. Speaker and colleagues, there is another recruitment program that goes on in Karamoja, and some of us are the survivors of that recruitment. When a boy child is born, they initiate you like you take a child for baptism. They initiate you into looking after goats, looking after calves, going to the kraal, and to a lifestyle that prepares you for, generally for warriorhood, to be a man, as we call it, to be initiated into another life. Just like the church does confirmation when you reach a certain age, the Karamojong also confirm the young boys, the Karashuna, the one you call, into a different lifestyle. This motion, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, is the next level of disarmament. We have done the physical disarmament, the removal of guns in the hands of our young people. Most of them are under 18 years. But the biggest population, the young men and those who are coming, are not mentally disarmed. General Lulu talked about it on his speech in Moroto. We need to move to the next level of disarmament, the mental disarmament and mindset change. And colleagues and the Right Honorable Speaker, if the country can accept to give us free compulsory boarding education, and this is a security matter, colleagues, because of these young men who are recruiting this reckless lifestyle of running around, the people of Asholi have suffered, the people of Lango have suffered, the people of Teso have suffered, the people of Bugishu have suffered, people of Sebei have suffered, and they are also suffering because of the impact of South Sudanese, Turkana, Kenyans. The cows they pick from this region, they don't all stay in Karamoja. They end up in South Sudan. They end up in Kenya. There is a constant and violent conflict that happens in Karamoja because of the lifestyle that people, they don't think of any other form of lifestyle. And this, if it is implemented, it should be an operational matter. It should be looked at from the security point of view. We must stop this recklessness by ensuring that our young boys go to school, and this will disarm them mentally. This idea of removing guns is like me. If I lose this pen, I know how to read and write. All these MPs here, including me, you think we don't know how to use those guns? That's the fact that I don't have it doesn't mean I don't know how to use it. The fact that you don't have this pen doesn't mean that you don't know how to use it. We need the next level of disarmament. And that means we must create an operation where even our security forces are involved in ensuring that we provide facilities for these young men to be retained in school and continue with education. The second aspect, before I sit down, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, is that for the girl child it is worse. Most girls are married off at 14, at 15, for cows. And what happens? A child goes to produce another child. And if you look at the statistics, the maternal mortality rate in Karamoja is 558 today per 1,000. And what is the figure for the country? 36. 36 per 1,000. In Karamoja, young children who are forced to be mothers die 558 for every 1,000 die. For the country average, it's 36. So these early marriages also as a dimension of worsening the infant mortality, the under-5 mortality, the maternal mortality, and all other health-related issues. By doing this, we can delay the marriage time for the young girls, address the question of insecurity permanently, address the question of health permanently, and cause a change for that part of the country, and also the rest of the neighbors to rest. Colleagues, support me in this motion. Let's work together to change permanently the situation in Karamoja and the situation in that part of the country. I'd like to submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Nakut Faith.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I stand to second this motion to give access to free and compulsory education to all the children in Karamoja. In Karamoja, the biggest burden of household welfare is shouldered by the women. She must ensure that there is food, she must ensure there is a home, and she must ensure that the children go to school. So you can imagine the burden our women are carrying. When she is overwhelmed, the children automatically support her. They become laborers. The rate of child labor in our region is so high. When they are overwhelmed, they end up in the streets begging. The children do it to support their mothers. We have repatriated a number of our children from the cities in our country. 2 years ago, there were women and children here in Gulu City coming from Kotido. About 60 of them, they had come to look for a living. We sent them back to Kotido. There was another group that came from Kabong to Busia. We sent them back when they were there to Kabong. There are thousands of the children from Napak who are begging in Kampala. The reason is this one. The women, the mothers, because of the cultural dynamics, the mothers are overwhelmed. They cannot afford both household welfare and plus now education, the cost of education itself. I support this motion and I appeal that you support us in this one, honorable colleagues. When you do it, you will liberate not just the children who cannot access an education at the moment, but also the women, so that they will be able to focus their energy on the other welfare needs. Because the burden of tuition, in addition to what they're already carrying, is too much. I plead with you, colleagues, that we allow this to pass. It will be good for the region. For every woman in Karamoja who doesn't access an income or even a living to sustain this burden, that burden is multiplied by 6 because we produce 6 children. And then you produce 6 children who will also be poor. Another one, so you will also produce. The multiplier effect on the economic burden for this country is so high if we cannot have these children access an education. I submit.
Thank you. Honorable Crowell Bosco. Honorable Anywa Richard. These are the seconders who are part of the motion, who seconded the motion formally.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm here to second the motion. Right Honorable Speaker, there are surely people have been searching for sustainable and permanent solutions to the cattle rustling for a very long time. Right Honourable Speaker, the rustlers has caused a lot of suffering on the people of Acholi, especially in the districts of Agago and Kitgum. Economic activities has been disrupted, and Right Honourable Speaker, we need a comprehensive and sustainable solution for the cattle rustling. Right Honourable Speaker, you will never be at peace when your neighbors are not at peace. Right Honourable Speaker, education is the only comprehensive and sustainable mechanism to put an end to cattle rustling in the region of Karamoja and Acholi sub-region. Right Honourable Speaker, research shows that there are cumulative benefits of education in ending any conflict. There are clear links between education and child improved ability to protect others. Right Honourable Speaker, indeed, it has been noted that children and young people in Karamoja sub-region who have low education level are the ones who are more involved in cattle rustling than their educated counterparts. Right Honourable Speaker, it is the lack of education that is driving this particular group of poor young people into rustling. Therefore, there are thousands of children and young people in Karamoja right now who are not going to school, and they have become professional raiders. Right Honourable Speaker, the raiders would have worked themselves out of poverty and respect and dignity if they were educated. Therefore, we need to use multiple strategies to combat cattle rustling in the Karamoja sub-region. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Loki John Baptist.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to second the motion under Rule 60, Sub-Rule 1, a motion for a resolution of Parliament urging government to formulate a policy on free compulsory boarding school education for the Karamoja sub-region. I want to thank Honorable Remigio for moving this motion and honorable colleagues for supporting. Right Honorable Speaker, we are moving this motion for a region whose development indices are very, very low. Talk about education, is very low, covered the percentage is very low. Health, water, roads, name them, they are very low. The only indices that are high is illiteracy in the region and insecurity, including poverty, which stands at nearly 70% of the people in Karamoja are in extreme poverty. The illiteracy level in Karamoja stands at 66. And Right Honorable Speaker, we cannot just sit and observe part of Uganda remaining lagging behind when the rest of the country is moving forward in as far as education and other aspects of development are concerned. Leaving Karamoja behind has a pull-down effect on the rest of the country. So we must team together and pull this child called Karamoja, which is still lagging behind. And we can only do this on two approaches. The first approach is affirmative action, as enshrined in Article 32(1). Affirmative action for Karamoja as far as education is concerned. And then the rights best approach as embedded in Article 30 and Article 34, Clause 1, that every child of school-going age has a right to education. Right, Honorable Speaker. Some people might argue that we have UPE, we have USE. Why hasn't Karamoja utilized these policies, existing policies, government policies? We are saying yes, the government policy of having a primary school per parish is there. The government policy of having a secondary school per sub-county is there. But when you look at the dynamics therein, you find the distances covered by the learners, these young learners, commuting from their homes to the schools, to either primary school or a secondary school. These are considerable distances which cannot be managed by the learners. So we are saying, if government can have a policy, if we can have a policy to enhance primary boarding education, secondary school education, these young learners can remain at school, stay at school, and finish their education smoothly. There is a destructive effect of moving from your home to school. Along the way, it contributes to absenteeism and increases the dropout rate of the young learners. So having boarding schools for Karamoja sub-region will address this issue. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable, conclude.
Honorable Speaker, we have the practice of female genital mutilation, which is being practiced among the Pokot of Amudat and among the Tepeth of Moroto district. These children are always in the villages and they are prone to this practice of FGM. So having boarding schools will enable these children to come and stay at school and get profitable education. So, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, I implore you to support this motion so that government formulates a policy for boarding school education in Karamoja, so that the problems of Karamoja, being it economic, being it education, being it in terms of service delivery, in as far as education is concerned, are addressed once and for all. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Father Nen. Then Dr. Rurume Baiga.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues. Right Honorable Speaker, there's a saying that we cannot wait for the Karamojong to develop, but this regional sitting must take development to Karamoja sub-region. I rise to support the mover of the motion. Right Honorable Speaker, when you look at the members of parliament and some highly learned Karamojongs, you ask yourself, where did they grow from? Right Honorable Speaker, I studied with some Karamojong seminarians, and I learned from them that the Komboni missionaries and other NGOs like UNICEF did a lot to change the mindset of the Karamojong children. The Komboni missionaries and NGOs like UNICEF build schools with boarding facilities and a school feeding program. And so many Karamojong children were raised because of the boarding facilities and school feeding program. Therefore, we need to support this motion. The government needs to support the Karamojong by building boarding facilities and also raiding and forcing these children to go to school. And secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, the leaders of Karamojong, especially the political leaders, need also to change their style of politics. Because majority during campaign, actually they distribute bullets to the young raiders. And this makes the young raiders to feel that their future are already sorted.
Honorable, that's a very strong statement, because those people should be in prison. They shouldn't be. Can you substantiate it?
Okay.
That's a
Thank
very,
you.
very...
Maybe for the interest and for the peace of the nation and my neighbors, I will withdraw that. But this is what normally takes place during campaign.
No, please, Honor. Point of order, Abim. Order.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker. I just didn't want to make a point of order to my elder who happened to be well versed with the Bible. Right Honorable Speaker, Karamoja, the move of the motion told you facts about Karamoja on education, but I'm very surprised when they said leaders in Karamoja during campaign distribute bullets in favor of voters. Is my brother by the title Reverend Father, my Vatican priest, is in order to allege that the leaders in Karamoja use bullets to solicit for votes during campaign. Is in order?
Yes, Honorable Mika, I really get you. Had also allowed Honorable Abim,
Thank you.
Kolmo.
Thank you very much.
At once, yeah.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Father Onen is one of the members of Parliament we hold in high esteem because of being a father. Sometimes when we get challenged, we even go to him for prayers. Right Honorable Speaker, Karamoja has 11 ethnic groups recognized by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. I have never known of any aspiring candidates or candidates in any election who have been distributing bullets. In any case, all the leaders of Karamoja are pro-peace and pro-development. Is the Honorable Father Onen, who is branding the best rosary during this regional sitting in order to allege that leaders from Karamoja, including me, from the beaming district of Abim, distribute bullets without substantiating? Is he in order?
Thank you. You know, it's very painful because to allege that honorable members are distributing bullets. So, number one, they should be in prison if they are doing that. Honorable Cheru would be Honorable would be having candidates to take to the court martial. Yes, Father.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I withdraw the statement. Thank you.
Honorable Father, thank you. You've made it very easy for me. Because, you know, I expect you to intercede for me in heaven. Now, if I rule you out of order and you fail to deliver prayers for me. So you've made it very, very easy for us. But let's be cautious with the statements we make, honorable colleagues. Yes, I had just picked Honorable Dr. Rume Baiga.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable
Let's first
Speaker.
hear the submission. You see, honorable colleagues from northern Uganda, on this, you're requesting colleagues from other areas to support you. So that's why I'm trying to pick colleagues outside the north to support you. Yes, Honorable Baiga.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank Honorable Remiju for this motion, and he knows that I'm a supporter of the development of Karamoja. We have had a lot of conversation. with him and Dr. Loki, who is my OB in Lumumba, about Karamoja. And indeed, there has been a program, Karamoja Development Agency, which is online as one of the agencies which should be done away with. And I wonder whether it had produced any results or any investment had been given to it. Perusing through it, Right Honorable Speaker, it looked quite comprehensive because it was not touching education alone. It was also touching productivity, and especially the mineral wealth which this region has. For the information of honorable members of parliament here, Karamoja can sustain Uganda for about 300 years without us working. It is a home of all tribes of minerals, including gold, diamond, we have uranium. We can even have a lot of energy if at all we developed these kind of minerals, Right Honorable Speaker. And therefore, Karamoja cannot be seen to be begging us. We should be begging Karamoja to be merciful to us, Ugandans, so that they can feed us for the next 300 years by investing in them so that they can take charge of their region, working together with us to enable Uganda to grow. Therefore, I want to support the motion, but I also want to elicit the response of this country so that the development agency that had comprehensive programs to holistically handle the problems of Karamoja be sustained, be funded, so that the rest of us from the rest of the country can coalesce to see how it can be put into action. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Clerk, please answer team, take note. The apology from Father Onen was registered, but I want to invoke Rule 229 of our Rules of Procedure to have that statement expunged from the record of Parliament. It was a very, very strong and heavy statement. Shouldn't remain on record. I'll pick Honorable Abraham Pitake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I rise to amend the motion, I would like to also make a substantive contribution. Mr. Speaker, peace in Karamoja is a prerequisite for socio-economic transformation in the neighborhood. Like Father Onen said here, for long we said Karamoja, we cannot wait for Karamoja. And because we did not wait for Karamoja, our neighbors have suffered. And I think it's now time that we move together. Mr. Speaker, in the 1960s, it's on record that the Kabaka, Mutesa, sacrificed his whole salary as a king to support education in Karamoja. It's on record. It's also on record that the likes of the Honorable Pulukol, that again Father Onen tried to allude to, went to school through force. The parish chiefs at that time, the Nyamparas, would collect children and take them to school forcefully. But these were not government schools. These were church schools. My late father used to tell me that he would walk from Kotido on Saturday, be in school on Sunday, attend classes up to Wednesday, and walk back to Kotido because there were no boarding schools. And that was Lotome in Napak district. Now, given all these circumstances, Mr. Speaker, we made an effort as Karamojong. We introduced something called alternative basic education for Karamoja. We thought that we needed to help the learners to continue to do their work. Because one thing we found out was that if you remove the boy child or a girl child from the household to take to school, there would be a disequilibrium of labor because each of them has a role to perform. So ABEC was introduced to allow the herds boys to study in the morning after milking the animals before they graze. They go to graze and in the evening. That recorded progress because we produced graduates out of ABEC. Unfortunately, conflicts in the region, cattle rustling, could not allow the mobile school to continue. Now, Mr. Speaker, I would like to make the following amendments to the motion. That besides the idea of having a policy on free and compulsory education, we also would like to urge government to support the Karamoja Peace and Technology University to build a chain to support the education in Karamoja. Karamoja Peace and Technology University is a university that for the first time is going to be established, or is in Karamoja, with the support of the Catholic Church, the International Catholic Lawyers Association, and the government of Uganda. And President Museveni is the founding chancellor. Now, why should this university be adopted or be included in this motion? As already submitted by the move of the motion, the children of Karamoja need to get to the schools, but they also need to have the schools that will pick on them. Like Father Onen was saying, where did this educated Karamojong come from? People studied outside Karamoja, and those who studied outside Karamoja were children of chiefs. Those of us whose parents were not chiefs. I remember for 2 years, I used to ride a bicycle from Kotido to NTC Ngeta in order to be in school. How many Karamojong can do that now? So, Mr. Speaker, my proposal to amend the motion is to add the words that to also urge the government to support the Karamoja Peace and Technology University in Karamoja, because it's going to be a catalyst of mindset change. It's going to be a catalyst of economic transformation. And we believe that in the next 10 years, we will have taken 350,000 school-going age children to school, and that will be the joy of Father Onen, because there will then be more Christians coming to seek for penance and prayers from Father Onen. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Additional information?
Additional information. Information first.
No, please.
Information.
Honorable colleague, that's not how I run the House, okay? Please, we have order. You seek permission. You don't get a microphone and you start speaking. Honorable Gilbert Oranya, amendment? Other amendment?
Additional information.
Honorable, you don't speak in a microphone without my permission. You first get that permission, then you speak.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, being a teacher by profession, I value education. And the mover of the motion in this paragraph is stated that many of the school dropout are being recruited into warwood and cattle rustling. Right Honourable Speaker, the mines, we need to change our attitudes first towards education. On this note, I would like to amend the motion to include the adult education. Let those school dropouts who are ever training their children into war, let their mind be changed first positively towards education. Therefore, I move that we include adult education for Karamoja. I beg to move.
We shall vote on all the amendments later. Honorable Norman Zocello.
Mr. Speaker, I apologize for my late attempt to speak before you had given me permission, sir. Mr. Speaker, I want just to add some critical information to a greater need for supporting education in Karamoja. Mr. Speaker, insecurity in Karamoja has taken a bit of time. Mr. Speaker and members, successive governments had made a lot of attempts to bring peace in Karamoja. Mr. Speaker, I want to concentrate on why has there been failure. Government after government failed to bring peace in Karamoja. Mr. Speaker and members, this insecurity of Karamoja is caused by the known people. Why it is complicated is it's being caused by people who are known. Why do I say they are known? It is easy to predict who will be a warrior. It is easy to predict because there's a roadblock. You reach a point, either you go to school or you become a raider. There are only two ways in Karamoja. Either you go to school or you become a warrior. You know the function of a warrior. No business, no what, no farming. There's drought. Everything is in total confusion. So the only chance left is either you go to school and become members here, or you branch to the other school and begin raiding. Now, Mr. Speaker, which means we already know who are the incoming candidates, for raiding. Mr. Speaker, these are young children who will fail to go to school. Mr. Speaker, when you hear the Karamojong members of parliament are asking, educate all the Karamojong, that is what they are meaning. They are putting the road into one so that everybody goes to educate themselves and therefore they don't raid. Which means the solution to the problem of Karamoja is one of the simplest, but there will be lack of commitment. Mr. Speaker, we are here to seek for commitment. One, once you educate all the Karamojong and Karamoja become peaceful, Mr. Speaker, you will have solved big problems in Acholi, you will have solved big problems in Lango, you will have rescued the Bateso, you will have sorted the Bagisu, and Basebe also, including international neighbors, they will be resting. Mr. Speaker, it is cheaper to educate the Karamojong so that peace is in Karamoja, to make all neighbors rest. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to add my voice that Kapato University, Karamoja University Peace and Technology, is sensitive, has been tailor-made in order to suit the circumstances in Karamoja at the moment. You can have all these universities, Karamoja will never go there. But Kapatu is a new university being developed, arising out of the situation in the region. It is my prayer, Mr. Speaker and members, that for this parliament and the record that they have sorted the problem of Karamoja by educating the Karamojong. So I support that Kapatu University be supported by government of Uganda so that it can answer the precurrent problems in the region. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Norman, this is what the President was talking about yesterday when he was saying we support him on his efforts for free education. Now what we are waiting for is a blueprint from government on which kind of support they want from Parliament. Is it budgetary support? They are going to propose, put money in the budget?
Budgetary support.
You know, so we are waiting for government guidance. Minister of Education? Honorable, I call further amendment. Let me first get further amendment from Honorable Anton Akor. And then the rope conclude, then Minister conclude. Honorable colleagues, I guided at the beginning, we have to finish by 4 p.m. So these are the last three submitted. Honorable Anton Akor, access the microphone.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I support the motion with amendment, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, when you look at the results of primary living examinations, in the top classes you will see, in the top performance, you will see the private schools, then you will see other sub-regions, then top down you will see the West Nile, Acholi, Lango, and Karamoja now down at the top. Right Honorable Speaker, my amendment is looking at the justification has been people joining warrior and those going for teenage pregnancy. That means we should be dealing with upper classes other than talking about boarding section right from down. That is one amendment. Secondly, it should capture West Nile, Acholi, Lango, because the problem is not only in Karamoja, but also affecting these other sub-regions. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Bwanika.
Right Honorable Speaker, Karamoja holds one of the most brilliant human beings on the face of the earth. I have had the opportunity to teach. I taught Dr. Loki. I taught another Karamoja person who holds one of the records as being the best, the most brilliant veterinary doctor that has ever passed through Makerere, called Dr. Irukor. In 2011, while I was campaigning in Matani, I picked a young boy called Alex Rocheli. He was in P6 by then. I supported him. I took him to Kampala. I paid his school fees. Now he has graduated with BBA and is working in Moroto. These people in Karamoja, those young people, they are only missing opportunity to go to school. And we must support them. I interacted recently, 2 weeks ago, when the speaker sent us to Karamoja. I interacted with the LOC chairperson of NAPAC. NAPAC has 59 parishes. Only 22 have got primary schools. Only 22. 37 of the parishes of NAPAC, they don't have a primary school. NAPAC produces 80% of the children who are on the streets in Kampala because they don't have education. I'm very supportive that we don't only provide compulsory boarding education, but also we provide schools all over Karamoja. There should be a project and affirmative action which should help Karamoja people to go to school. We are losing brains which would have innovated. Very brilliant people in Karamoja. Right, Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this motion and it should be with urgency.
Thank you. I hope those people supported you when you went there for. Because you did a fantastic job. Yeah, so just before I allow the Minister for Education, there is a Minister for Karamoja. Can just get one piece of statement. Then the sector-specific issues are left to the Minister for Education. There. Honorable Rokaris. Colleagues, I've received very many requests from you, but I have an order paper to manage. All these issues are very, very critical. So please, you'll have to bear with me so that I go back on the order paper. We go to other items. Minister for Karamoja, 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I will be speaking to tell you an example of a person who comes to school and gets that there was a boarding school and he studies, fearing to go home, and now he's a minister. The first time myself, one time, my own father told me to drive a bull with him to go and sell in order for him to pay poll tax at that time. So we moved. In the morning we passed near, I think that was then a school, where I saw children, very many. My father, I said, why are these children too many here, near Mabati houses? He said, there is something called a school. A school? Yes. What will they become in the future? He told me, these people, when they will study, when they grow up, they become drivers, they become chiefs. I mean, he said, like the chiefs who have forced you to bring the bull here. Yes. I said, that's very good. Then they say, in the evening, when now they rest, they go and take tea. He used to give me some tea, something like chai, and it was very sweet. When I had, I said, yes, I will come here because of the tea to study with these people. Imagine, from that time, we went back. I asked him, I want to go. He was delaying. I decided to run away myself. When I went there, I was welcomed. There was a boarding school by the missionaries. I started staying there. It was only 1 month. They said, there is all day. I said, now, where will I go? Those people will beat me for having abandoned their cows. Then the priest told me, no, they are building a church here. You come and help in carrying bricks. I was young. I would only carry 2. So all the time I was there, I stayed with them very well. If there was no school of that type, where you come freely, you eat, you sleep, it was boarding, I wouldn't be here. And from that time, I continued. In fact, I didn't pay any school fees up to senior 4. Up to senior 4, the rest came by themselves. So, to say for Karamoja, pre-primary and boarding education is very important. All these people who are now running around, if they were educated like us, they wouldn't be there. We would have reduced raiders completely. So now, the rest of the country is moving. We better move the country together in a unified manner. In maybe 20 years' time, when there is mindset change, then other things can now relax. But by now, it is high time we sweep all of them from the villages and we educate them, give them free and compulsory education. The whole country will just be safe, automatic. You change their mind and we move. These people are getting jobs, they are getting alternative ways of livelihood, and that will be the end.
Thank you,
and I am very happy all of you are supporting. We are Ugandans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Honourable Minister, because you see, this is a motion. Please take your seat. Yes. This is a motion where we are limited by the law as Parliament, Article 93 of the Constitution. That's why you're seeing it's a motion for urging, meaning we are sending it to you in Cabinet. So when you reach in Cabinet, please give that example you've had and push harder so that it can be supported, as it has a financial implication. Honourable Minister of Education.
Thank you so much. Right, Honourable Speaker. I want to thank my colleague for presenting this motion. Permit me, Mr. Speaker, to first of all make the mandate of the Ministry of Education very clear. The mandate is to provide quality education for all children in Uganda, and I'm happy that the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, Article 30, stipulated that education is a fundamental right for our children. In that spirit, Mr. Speaker, the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, to ensure all our children have right to education, brought on board the universal education for our children, primary in 1997 and secondary in 2007. And the principle and the spirit of the universal education is to leave no child behind. And there should be no barriers for our children to access education, Mr. Speaker. As a result of universal education that was brought on board, the enrollment of our children in schools increased drastically. For instance, in 1995, when UPE was brought on board, from 2.5, the enrollment rose to 5.3 in 1998. Thereafter, in 2023, it went to 8.5, and today we are speaking about 10.9 million learners enrolled in primary education. This is because of the principle of universal education. And the principle is to increase access to education, especially to the disadvantaged children. And also, the design in that principle is to construct classrooms, sanitation facilities for primary administrative block, while secondary has ICT block, multipurpose hall, and science block. There was no provision for boarding facilities in terms of dormitories and what it takes to have a boarding facility. Mr. Speaker, despite all this high enrollment in universal education, we as education fraternity have seen challenges in terms of high rates of dropout, uncoordinated charges of fees, climate changes that has caused problems for children to access school, the floods, the destructions in our school. We've seen violence against children and overcrowding in classes. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education indeed recognized the challenges that are unique in areas in Karamoja region, in island communities, where we have seen children coming to school using boats, using canoes. We've seen challenges in areas that are prone to disasters. As a result of floods, we see day scholars not able to cross the river, to cross the bridge because of disaster in those places. Mr. Speaker, last year on 17th of March 2023, Cabinet, under the chair of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, approved a document that was presented by Mama Janet, the Minister of Education and Sports. And it is about government implementing free and compulsory universal education for all our children in Uganda. Starting with the primary education, then we move to secondary education. And this will bring on board issues to do with increment in enrollment, recruitment of teachers, funds to increase capitation grants and what have you. And Mr. Speaker, we are to start with primary, then move to secondary. And because the funds that needed to start this free and compulsory education went up to over 300 billion, we had to prioritize with the upcoming AFCON activities in the country. Mr. Speaker, in that meeting, my colleague, the Minister of Karamoja Affairs, was there. My colleague, Honorable Anyakun, who ably articulated the issues of Karamoja and challenges of disaster-prone places and island communities. And it was discussed with the proposal of granting affirmative action, special consideration for Karamoja, for islands that are like the ones we know, and the disaster-prone places. And the special affirmative action is to be specifically on boarding section. That comes on board together with the compulsory free universal education for all. I recall very vividly this was discussed, and the President himself saw the challenges in Karamoja and indeed recommended that the ministry should further discuss these challenges, and we see to it that the best solutions could be provided for those specific areas as we move to implement the universal compulsory education. Mr. Speaker, I welcome the motion, but I will wish it is not only limited to Karamoja. As Cabinet looked at it, Karamoja is not alone. We have the disaster-prone places, like I talk about the island. I talk about the disaster-prone places. So that is what Cabinet is looking at. But Mr. Speaker, permit me for this Parliament to appreciate the overall enrollment in our country, together with the national statistics. Because when we speak, we need to speak on evidence-based information. We need to speak on scientific information. On primary enrollment, Mr. Speaker, as Uganda, we have got a total of 10,976,773. This is as of June 2024, the enrollment of primary children in Uganda. The total number of primary schools in Uganda, we have 43,534. The teachers that has been captured under the IMIS, we have 196,364. The distribution for northern region, actually, the total enrollment in primary school in Acholi, we have 544,434, which represent 4.86% of the total enrollment. If you permit me, Mr. Speaker, I just want to give the percentage. Lango, the enrollment represents 7.17% of the national enrollment. West Nile represents 10.2% of the national enrollment. Karamoja represents 2.02% of the national enrollment. And in total, the northern region, Mr. Speaker, represents 24.35% of the total enrolled children in the country. In terms of primary schools, the northern region, the total number of primary schools in northern Uganda stands at 11.49%.
The minister is giving you information. So I don't know what's wrong with information. You might disagree with the information, okay? But giving information is not wrong. So let the minister, Honorable Betty Amdat, what is your procedure matter?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. My procedural matter is that, thank you, the Minister, for the presentation, but I'm pissed up because she's bringing the information when we are just laying our motion about the Highland people. Right Honorable Speaker, in a program or when a government wants to start a program, it is good to have what we call piloting areas. It will be our plea to the government to consider Karamoja as a piloting center because we have a lot of problems. Members understand the situation we are in. The agencies, we are now, there's peace in Karamoja. Why can't we settle and find out what can be done to bring the region
What
to
is
be
your
seen?
procedure,
Thank
Madam
you.
Honorable? Okay. Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, please. We have submitted, and I requested the minister to give a response to our submissions. These are her views and views of the ministry. You might disagree with the views, but she's entitled to those views and clarifications from her side. So let the minister give the submission. You might disagree with the information, but she's a minister. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much. I gave this information as of 17th March 2023, what was discussed in Cabinet about free and compulsory education and proposal for affirmative action for Karamoja, island community and disaster. It is something that was discussed last year in Cabinet. Thank you to allow me to proceed. Mr. Speaker, I was talking about the enrollment of our children, the national enrollment vis-a-vis the region of northern Uganda, and the total number of teachers we have in this region vis-a-vis the national position and the number of primary schools. In total, to make the matter short, the northern region has 21.49% of the total teachers in the country. In terms of primary schools, the northern region has a percentage of 11.49. That is the statistics that we have for primary enrollment for Acholi, Lango, West Nile, Karamoja, and northern Uganda. For the secondary education, Mr. Speaker, as of June 2024, from our EMIS data, Uganda has enrolled a total of 1,710,403 students in secondary education. Out of that, the teachers in Uganda in secondary school, we have 71,918, while the schools of secondary education in Uganda is 7,466.
But Honourable Minister, you see, you are not responding to the motion. The motion was requesting you. In fact, you are responding to the petition, which is an item that we have not yet handled. You're on item number 3, and yet we are handling number 5. So the issue is about boarding. They are requesting you that can you introduce boarding facilities in Karamoja as a government. Simple.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much. I thought I could come to that the last, but let me straight away go to that area. As I gave the background for the principles of universal education, which does not cater for boarding section. Mr. Speaker, my ministry indeed gives permission for schools that will wish to operate as a boarding section only after meeting the required minimum standard and the basic requirement for a boarding section. A study was done and we found out, Mr. Speaker, quite a number of boarding schools that are running boarding schools are not meeting the minimum standards in terms of the boarding facilities. Over 52.5% of boarding facilities have not met the minimum standard. They don't have the required place for the boarding schools. They do not meet the standard for sanitation, and the electrical installations equally is wanting. And of course, there are many gaps that have been found out for those boarding sections. Because of the gaps that are glaring in boarding sections, my ministry is still studying the proposal, as I said, discuss in cabinet to ensure some special considerations of some regions to have a boarding facility.
Thank you.
This is because...
Honourable Minister, I've run out of time.
Thank you. So I beg to submit that we still be given time to study, carry out, so that we present the finding to cabinet before bringing to Parliament. Thank you.
Honourable colleagues, I now put the question that the motion for a resolution of Parliament urging government formulate a policy on free compulsory boarding school education for the Karamoja sub-region be adopted with proposed amendments. Those in favour say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Honourable Minister, I think 6 months are sufficient as per our rules of procedure, Rule 220. We give you 6 months to report back to Parliament, telling us the action you would have taken so far. This is a motion urging, so when you develop a policy, then you go into seeing how best you can implement it. Honourable members in the VIP gallery this morning, we have Honourable Atiku Bernard, former MP Ayivu County, Ms. Amongin Jane Francis, RCC Guru City, Mr. Peter Banga, Deputy RCC Guru City, Mr. Opio Moses Kao Abim, Mr. Ojok Samuel Kitanga, District Speaker Agago, Mr. Ochen Bosco, District Speaker Kitigum, Honorable Nangiro John Nakapiripriti, District Chairperson, Colonel Retired Oboya Oyat, Padel District Chairperson, Mr. Orach Emmanuel, LC5 Noya District Local Government Chairperson, and Mr. Obite Stephen, LC5 Chairperson, Maracha District. They've come to observe proceedings of this House. Please join me once again in welcoming them. Thank you. Next item.
Item 3 on the other paper, presentation of petition on the low net enrollment and completion rates in primary and secondary schools and challenges in accessing tertiary and university education in northern Uganda.
Honorable Pio Samuel.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. And as we've noted in the just previous discussion, the issue of education is not just a challenge in Karamoja, but a problem in West Nile, Acholi, and Lango as well. And I hereby move under Rule 30 on a petition on the low enrollment and completion rates in primary and secondary schools and challenges in accessing tertiary and university education in northern Uganda. This is the humble petition of stakeholders of Chess Foundation, represented by Honorable Pio Samuel Achuri, MP Kole North, and states that your humble petitioners are members of Chess Foundation, a community-based organization established to undertake interventions to drive socio-economic development, including provision of educational services and support within the communities that it operates within northern Uganda. Article 30 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda guarantees the right to education, and Objective 18 of the National Objectives and Principles of State Policy enjoins the state to promote free and compulsory basic education and take appropriate measures to afford every citizen equal opportunity to attain the highest educational standards possible. The Education Pre-Primary, Primary, and Post-Primary Act of 2008 emphasizes that basic education shall be provided and enjoyed as a right by all persons, and provides for the objective of the Act to give full effect to the Universal Primary Education Policy and full effect to the Universal Post-Primary Education and Training Policy of Uganda. The fundamental right to education is also affirmed by a number of international and regional instruments that Uganda has ratified, including the International Covenant on Economic and Social and Cultural Rights. The government of Uganda has made commitments in the National Development Plan 3 and Sustainable Development Goals 2030 under the theme Leaving No One Behind, where specifically SDG 4 seeks to ensure the provision of free, quality, equitable, and inclusive education for all. Government has taken measures to ensure access to education for all through both universal primary education and universal secondary education programs that have increased access to education by millions of children. However, despite these interventions, Northern Uganda region, which comprises the sub-regions of West Nile, Acholi, Lango, and Karamoja, abbreviated as WOC, continue to face significant challenges in accessing education. The Uganda National Household Survey 2020 by UBOS showed that primary school and secondary school net enrollment in northern region as the lowest in the country and below the national average. Net average enrollment in primary school in the region was at 68.65% against the national average of 80%. Karamoja stands at the lowest at 42.1%, implying that out of every 100 children of primary school going age in Karamoja, only 42 are enrolled. 58 are out of school and have been left behind. Net enrollment in secondary school was at 7.2% in Acholi, 12.1% in Karamoja, 14.3% in West Nile, and 14.5% in Lango sub-region, less than half the national average of 27.3%. with some regions having enrollment rates as high as 46.2% and 52.3%, more than 3 times the WOC region statistics. These statistics, in effect, show that in Northern region, on average, out of every 100 persons of official secondary school going age between 13 to 18 years, only 12 are enrolled in secondary education, with 88 persons not able to have access and have been left behind. Furthermore, in regard to primary education, anecdotal evidence suggests that the P7 completion rates are also way below the national average of 61.6%, with some districts reporting completion rates as low as 30%. This implies again that in such districts, for every 100 children who commence P1, only 30 will reach P7, while 70 will drop out and be left behind. Whereas access to tertiary and university education is not yet well documented, reports indicate that it is equally low due to the low enrollment at the primary and secondary level. As a result of the limited access to primary, secondary, and tertiary education, the communities in northern Uganda have not fully utilized employment and career opportunities available within the various public and private sectors, even for jobs that require minimum qualifications such as O-level and A-level, among others. This has hindered the socio-economic transformation of the region and partly contributed to the high poverty levels due to limited income diversification. Lastly, the Uganda National Household Survey noted that education was the key determinant in exposing one to employment opportunities, with the results showing that majority of those without education or had attained only some primary education were engaged in subsistence agriculture, while those who completed primary and other higher education levels were mostly in employment. Lango sub-region, for example, had the least population in employment at 20% across the country against a national average of 52.1%. Now, therefore, your humble petitioners pray that, 1, an inquiry is made on the causes of the below average and low net enrollment in primary education and low completion rates in the sub-regions of Lao, Acholi, West Nile, and Karamoja. 2, an inquiry is done on the causes of the below average and low net enrollment rates in secondary education in the sub-regions of West Nile, Acholi, Lango, and Karamoja. 3, an inquiry is done on the status of access to tertiary and university education in the sub-regions of West Nile, Acholi, Lango, and Karamoja. Lastly, interventions and an affirmative action be developed and funded for each of the sub-regions to address the low net enrollment in primary and secondary education and low completion rates of primary education, alongside challenges in accessing tertiary and university education. And your humble petitioners, as in duty bound, will ever pray. And hereto appended are your humble petitioner signatures as attached. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to submit, and I hereby lay this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable. Honourable, just looking at the prayers, most of these, they require government intervention direct. So I'll invoke my powers under Rule 30, Sub-Rule 6, and refer the petition to the Minister for Education for handling and reporting back within 6 months. Thank you. Honourable colleagues, this is a reminder that as you come in, ensure that you clock in onto our system, that you register in short for your attendance today. Next item.
Item 4 on the other paper. Motion for adoption of the report of the Sectoral Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry on the state and prospects of tourism sites in northern Uganda.
Honourable Chair, Committee. What is going to be presented by our young and energetic and brilliant Vice Chairperson, Honourable Court Boniface.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, warm regards from the youth of Uganda and congratulations for the regional sitting. I beg to lay, Right Honorable Speaker, a report of the Sectoral Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry on the state and prospects of tourism sites in northern Uganda and the attendant minutes. I beg to lay, Right Honorable Speaker, related matters. The first one is Kabalega and Mwanga Monumental Site in Dokolo, Balonyo Massacre Site in Lira, Mary Mother of the Church Shrine in Icheme Oyam, Abok Massacre Site in Oyam, Sir Samuel Becker's Fort Patiko, Gulu, Amuru Hot Springs in Amuru District. The committee also acknowledges and prioritizes for subsequent oversights the heritage sites in Gulugulu Hills, Amuru, Napak Fossil Site in Napak, Emin Pasha Fort Site in Wadelai, Pakwach, Karamoja Museum in Moroto, Dufile Heritage Site in Moyo, Tieno Loom Footprints in Ebuje Akokoro in Lao, Palabek in Lamuo, Lototoro in Lamuo, Agoro Hills in Acholi, Abia Memorial Site in Lao, Nziri Tomb in West Nile, Winam Old Palace in West Nile, Arua Museum in West Nile. Those are 19 sites in total. The terms of references I already indicated. To save time, I'll go straight to methodology. I'll also not go through it, but it's important to mention, Right Honorable Speaker, that the committee conducted a desk review on a comparative analysis of investments in tourism sites in 3 East African community countries. And one, the committee noted that for the management and administration of museums and monuments in Uganda, we are guided by the Museums and Monuments Act of 2023. Right Honorable Speaker, Uganda also has a tourism policy of 2015, which prioritizes 4 areas, heritage, and we also have meta sites and monuments.